Imagine being terrified of the camera, introverted to the core, and still closing $100,000 in commission in just 1 month. That's exactly what Barry Cessna did, and today I'm going to show you step by step exactly how you can do the same, even if you hate being on video. But the surprising part is, even if you follow every single one of these steps, there's 2 critical things at the end that made the biggest difference of his success compared to other channels that have far bigger audiences and aren't generating any leads. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's go through this entire process as you can see here. And you're gonna see that Barry Cessna's channel now has about 928 subscribers, but at the time of me doing this segment with Barry, he did $101,000 in commission in just 1 month with under 200 subscribers. And I'm gonna walk you through the exact sequence of how you can do the same so that you can get incredible results, even with a small audience. So let's start diving in. First thing is going to be defining your channel and positioning of your audience. And this is going to give you the direction, right? You've heard the riches are in the niches. You've heard that you have to have targeting in order to get in front of the right people. Because if you try speaking to everybody, you end up speaking to nobody. Being able to get very clear on your target avatar is very critical. And I'll walk you through exactly how to do that. But there's very common niches like relocation buyers, sellers, investors, first-time buyers. Now, what Barry did is he focused on relocation buyers because he's in a secondary home market where there's a lot of people relocating to Cape Coral, Florida. For you, if you don't know how to define your audience, there's a couple things that you can do in order to get to that point very quickly. First, who have you worked with in the past, or who do you commonly work with? And oftentimes, you are most qualified to help the person you used to be. And what I'm referring to here is, if you relocated to your market, you have an experience that other people can relate to. Thus, you should probably also focus on relocation buyers because you can connect to them on an emotional level. If you have invested before, maybe investors. If you just bought your first house, first-time home buyers. And this is going to be important, but I'll also share with you, you don't have to have this dialed in straight out the gate. And I'll walk you through how you can do that later in the video if you don't know how to define your niche. So I'll get to that later on. But it's going to be important for defining your channel content promise, right? This channel helps ideal client achieve X results in X city. Barry's promise would be this channel helps relocation buyers achieve their dream home in Cape Coral, Florida. Now, that's part 1. Part 2 is where things get a little bit more interesting. Set up and optimize your channel. So if we look at Barry's channel, we can see a couple critical things here. Professional banner and profile photo. You is the face, not a logo. People connect with people. People do not connect with logos, brands of the corporate side. They connect with real people. You want people to get to know you. Now, with that being said, you can see here, if we zoom into Barry's banner, we can see Gulf access, second home, relocation, new construction. His niches are clearly defined in his banner or his YouTube channel art. So anybody coming here can look at this and say, hey, I like Gulf access, the water. I am looking at a second home. I'm relocating. And maybe I'm interested in new construction. Any of those 4, people can raise their hand and say, that's me. That's why it's important for you to get clarity on who you serve. Now, you can also see your Cape Coral waterfront realtor. Very specific. And when you can speak to those people, that's where people can raise their hand and say, that's me. That's why if we go back to defining your target avatar, where I said maybe you have relocated to your market and that's who you're qualified to help, you'll find that if you follow any entrepreneur, any public figure, any role model, you feel like they're speaking directly to you. Not to everyone, to you. When you're listening to maybe Gary Vee, you're like, wow, this guy gets me. Or you're listening to a top female entrepreneur, you're like, she just understands me. Well, that's because they're speaking directly to you. You are their target avatar. And the same can happen when you speak directly to people, and that's why it converts so much higher. Now, one of the things that's important is making sure that your profile photo is consistent across all social media platforms in order to create that consistency. But if we also check out his about section, this is going to be about search. If we look at the About section, which is right here, you can click see more if you go check out his channel. I'll link it below. You're going to find some keywords in there about Cape Coral, about Realtor, about relocation, new construction, all keywords that are going to help people find his channel as well. And you'll also see some links in his video. I'll get to that later on because this is the most critical part for converting views into leads. I'll get to that in one of the later steps. But you'll be able to see later on that he has links to lead magnets, Calendly, social profiles in all of his descriptions. So setting up your channel is going to be important in order to make sure that the right people come there and say, this guy or girl is speaking directly to me. I want to hear more about what they have to say. But now let's go on to the more interesting side of things. Now, before getting into part 3, I do want to mention that I also just created an entirely free YouTube course. Most people charge thousands of dollars for it, and I decided to give it away for free. 74% of agents haven't closed a deal yet this year, and I don't want you to be one of them. So if you want to comment on this video, free course, but there's a critical thing here. If too many people just comment free course, YouTube flags the comments and it won't allow us to send you the free course. So what I want you to do instead is comment free course, and then after that, what your biggest takeaway was from the video, so that not all comments are the same, and I'll send you literally an entire free course of how to pretty much do everything that we're walking through here. So now we need to identify the topics that are going to attract clients. It's been easier than ever with the rise of AI. This is why it's such a unique opportunity right now to start tapping into YouTube. I used to have to spend hours researching content, figuring out the keywords, figuring out the right videos, figuring out the buyer and seller demand, what people were searching for. Now you can do it in seconds, and I've got tons of videos on my channel showing you how to do it. So using data tools like Manus, as well as YouTube search, and of course, our trusty old ChatGPT, everybody should be using this in order to identify the exact video topics. So when you go into ChatGPT, you can write a prompt. This is why I wanted you to follow the first couple steps of, I'm a residential realtor in Cape Coral, Florida. I service relocation, secondary home, waterfront buyers who are looking to move there. Provide me with the top video topics that I should be recording on YouTube that will help me generate the most leads. Well, that exact prompt will give you the exact videos in seconds based on data. You no longer have to waste endless hours in order to figure out what you should be doing. Then we want to prioritize evergreen topics. You can see that here. And why is that the case? Because sometimes there's going to be videos that are trending. The biggest part about YouTube is not tapping into trends, but rather leveraging the evergreen power, which means it lasts forever. So when you look at videos like the cost of living, the pros and cons, the top neighborhoods, these can rank for years, which means if you put out a good video, clients can continue to come to you for years and years and years. This happens with my own content. This happens with Barry's content. You'll see later on his top performing videos a couple years old. It's still bringing him clients today because it's still relevant today. And then one of the strategic things I recommend is this right here, which is creating a multi-part series on major topics. And this is going to be where we tap into things like playlists, as you're going to see right here. So a series is going to be relocating or moving to Cape Coral, living in Cape Coral, monthly market updates for Cape Coral. Any series where there's going to be multiple videos grouped into it, YouTube rewards progression and series content. Why is that the case? The reason being is that YouTube doesn't just want people to come to your channel. They want people to stay on your channel. And when they watch one video, but then realize, hey, there's other video topics on the same subject that I'm interested in, they will binge your content. So they're not just going to come, watch one, and then leave and go to a competitor or leave YouTube altogether. They will come and go directly to another video. YouTube promotes channels that keep people on the platform, and that's one of the best ways to do it. Now, we're going to take an example of 2 different videos, and I'm going to show you the importance of just taking an uncomfortable action and just getting started. So I'll show you those videos in a second, but let's look at the framework of what converts views into clients, because some people think you need thousands of subscribers to get 100,000 a month in commission, but we've proven that that's not the case, right? And Barry's in my group at eXp Realty, and so I can actually validate this is the truth because I can see, the amount of deals that he does. And so this is what we want every YouTube video to have, these critical components. We'll dive a little bit deeper into it later. But the first and most important thing is the hook. You'll notice with any of Barry's videos, he does 2 things incredibly well: the hook and the call to action, which, not surprisingly, are the 2 most important components of a YouTube video. The value is great, but if you don't give people a reason to stay and give them a reason to reach out to you, they're not going to stay and they're not going to reach out to you. So we need to do that. And then after we hook people, you want to follow this framework, which is problem, solution, implementation, which is what is their problem, right? If they're relocating, they want to find the best neighborhoods. What is the solution? Here's the exact area. What is the implementation? Here's your next step. You follow that process. The bulk of the video is the easiest part. The most important part is, again, the hook as well as the call to action. So starting with the result, right? This is going to be the outcome. And let's take a look at one of Barry's videos. And while we're doing this, I want to show you 2 different videos because I want to show you where things can go. Because as I said in the beginning, Barry is an introvert and he's terrified of the camera. And so he uses a teleprompter. You'll probably not even notice it. Maybe you will in the beginning of the video. So to give some context, I want to play one of Barry's first videos, and then let's play one of Barry's recent videos to show you that even if you go look at his channel and say, oh, he seems so confident now, just like me and everybody else who gets started, he was not confident in the beginning. So let's go ahead and play one of Barry's first videos.
The Cape Coral real estate market can be described by one word: gridlock. Over the last several months, we've seen very low inventory, and we've seen buyers sitting on the sidelines.
Okay, so now that we've taken a look at that and a few seconds of it, let's go ahead and compare that with one of Barry's recent videos.
Imagine waking up every morning to breathtaking views on a 350-foot wide Gulf access canal. This isn't just a home, it's a waterfront masterpiece designed for luxury living in Cape Coral's highly desirable Surfside neighborhood.
Awesome. So watching those, you would have known a couple things. Number 1, the hook. 2, the call to action. And 3, how much getting the repetitions in and being consistent in makes a difference, because you can see an enormous shift in how he performs. So now let's go ahead and look at recording. So we talked about being able to first start with a teleprompter if you're uncomfortable. I'll actually link the teleprompter that I use, Barry uses, for some of our videos in the description in case you want that. But this is something I really want to stress here, which is the rules of communication. This is really important for people who are just getting started on YouTube. You can see 7, 38, 55. So let's go ahead and write that down. You'll see 7, 38, and then you'll see 55. What does each of that mean? Well, the biggest thing that most agents struggle with is that they focus entirely on the words that they say. And if they don't say the perfect word, they think it's imperfect and they don't want to post it. Well, if you actually understand communication, only 7% is the words that you speak. But everybody puts 100% of their effort and attention and stress on this 7%. But even if your secondary language is English, if you're not the best with words, that's okay, because 38% is going to be the tonality. And if you can guess what the 55% is, it's going to be body language. This is really important because you could be saying the perfect words, but if you're just looking at the camera like this with no body language and no tonality, not many people are going to take very much interest. However, if you also have a ton of tonality and things like that, but then you're not moving your arms and you're not doing anything, you're going to seem like a psycho. And so it's really important to realize that 93% of communication is not the words. And everybody stresses out over it. So I'm encouraging you not to do that. Now, one of the things you could do, especially if you're introverted, in order to get higher retention on your videos or longer watch time, is going to be using pattern interrupts. And one of that is going to be different things, and you'll see this in Barry's videos: graphics, maps, stats. Just things that you can overlay. Most people will just refer to it as B-roll. But these pattern interrupts are going to get people to focus less on you and more on the video itself. And now let's go down to this part, which is really critical. Optimizing for delivery. Because if you have the perfect delivered video, but you don't have it optimized, nobody's going to find it. So let's talk about how to optimize your video. There's a couple things that are going to be really critical to make sure that your video gets found. You have the title, the thumbnail, the descriptions, and the tags. Those are the 4 components that go into optimizing a YouTube video, and I'll break them down. Now, later, I'm going to express the importance and show you an exact example of the descriptions. So that will come in a couple minutes because this is where leads convert. Sorry for my writing, but we'll get to that. Titles and thumbnail. These are the most important part of your video. Most people spend the majority of their time focusing on the video itself, but if nobody clicks on your video, it's never going to get watched. That's why I see some people that, they've spent thousands of dollars on somebody local to create this incredible video, and it really is good, and nobody watches it, gets 17 views. And that's because they didn't get people to click on it. There's a couple things you could do. When it comes to titles, we always focus on this format, which is problem, solution, outcome. You can see here an example. 10 things I wish I knew before moving to Austin. So people can look at this and say that, well, I'm moving to Austin. I want to know this before moving there. And there's 10 things. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to watch that. And the title, as you can see here, let's look at an example of Barry's own videos. Warning: 3 must-knows before buying a Cape Coral home. Lists do well because people want to know multiple things. That's why you'll see numbers. Must-knows before buying. Well, if you're thinking of moving there, then you're probably going to want to know these before buying, especially when there's a warning. Makes me think that this is important. Also market specific, Cape Coral home. Not 3 must-knows before buying a home, a Cape Coral home. Everything, which I'll share with you in the beginning, needs to be, everything, which I'll talk about in a second, needs to be focused on your local market 100% of the time. So the title is very literal, it's very searchable, and it follows that framework. Now, the thumbnail, a couple critical things here. Number 1, you do not want the title and the thumbnail to have the same text. The worst thing I see is people's title text equals thumbnail. But here's the problem. You only have 2 opportunities to get people to click on your video, the title and the thumbnail, and if both of them are the same, you miss out on 50% of the opportunity to get people to click on your video. So you do not want these to be the same. Secrets they won't tell you. Interesting. And you can see this is from the background, very obviously Cape Coral. You've got Barry in here for branding. So it builds the brand, it piques curiosity. It's not the same as the title, and it's local market specific. That is what goes into a good thumbnail. The tags. So one of the ninja tricks that I'm going to share with you is whenever you're doing the tags of the keywords on your YouTube video, you should be able to send this screenshot to a friend without telling them the description, the title, or the thumbnail, and they should be able to tell you where your video is for and what it's about. And if we look at this, we can see that very clearly this is specific to Cape Coral. Pretty much every tag in here is Cape Coral. And then you also have things related to buying a home in Cape Coral and moving to Cape Coral and waterfront homes. So all of these things are pointing the viewer in the right direction and telling YouTube's algorithm, this is for me. Where a lot of people go wrong in their tags is they use tags such as homes. They use tags such as buying. They use tags such as realtor or real estate agent. Well, homes for where? Buying where? A realtor where? The more specific and market specific your tags are, the more YouTube is going to know, hey, this is for people specifically looking for Cape Coral. I'm going to send this to them and put it in front of them. So that is hypercritical. But now we need to launch the video, because if you optimize it, but nobody watches it, then that's an even bigger problem. So let me give you some tips. Publish at peak times when at least 30% of your subs are online. This is from YouTube's very own analytics. YouTube tells you. So many people ask, when is the best time to post on YouTube? YouTube tells you, but YouTube only tells you after you've put out about 12, 24 YouTube videos. You need to get the data to know when your audience is most active. Of course, you can't get to know when your audience is most active if you've never posted, but I will share with you what you can do. Everything is based on consumer behavior. So this is a screenshot from my analytics, and there's a reason why I post all of my videos at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, sometimes Friday. And you can see that's right before my audience becomes active in all these times here. That's because my audience is realtors and real estate agents, hopefully like you. Your audience is different. It's buyers and sellers. When are buyers and sellers most active? Well, during the weekday, they're probably going to be most active when they're taking a break at lunch with their 9 to 5, so between 11 and 1. Also in the evenings after they get home, 5 p.m. onward. On weekends, it's kind of anytime, late morning, early afternoon. So what should you do? If you want to identify straight out the gate with no videos when you should be posting your videos, test two different things. Post, if you're doing 2 videos a week, which you should, post some of your videos between 11 and 1, 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. And then the next videos, post it in the evening after 6 p.m. Out of the weekends, post 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That is going to give you, after you've done that for about 12, 24 videos, the exact data on when to post. Now, there's a couple other critical things that you could do in order to skyrocket the amount of views and engagement you get on your videos. The first is going to be cross-promote. So in the beginning, I would always, and you'll see Barry does this, he will actually post on Instagram his stories with a link that a new video has been released. People can click on the link, go to the new video, drives hundreds of people to his new video. Additionally, an email, and you'll see that my videos go out at 6 a.m. and an email goes out at 6 a.m. to my database. Well, Barry does the same thing, and so does everybody that succeeds on YouTube. You can use these videos to nurture your database. And then also just make sure that you engage. YouTube rewards engagement, especially if it's relatively soon after the comment has been made. And my recommendation to you is to reply to those comments. Now let's look at converting views into clients, because this is what you really want. So we talked about the importance of adding a call to action in the first 60 seconds. Hook, call to action. I can't stress this enough. It's the most important thing. I also recommend doing one in the last 30 seconds or 60 seconds just to reinforce it. Now, if we look at an example, a call to action after the hook could be, I work with buyers and sellers moving to Cape Coral, and every single week, I have people just like you reaching out, asking me to help them with their next move. And so if you would like professional guidance and to have a private conversation, more than happy to have a conversation with you. Just click the link in the description. That is where the game is won. Where most people go wrong is they ask for likes, and they ask for comments, and they ask for subscriptions. So what do you think they get? A whole whack of likes, comments, subscriptions, and no clients. I've seen this happen time and time again. Whereas if you ask for people to contact you, they will. Convenience sells. Now, another tool that you could do is offer a lead magnet. If you do specialize in relocation, I would highly recommend a relocation guide. If you focus on sellers, a home sellers guide. And if you, for example, focus on first-time home buyers, a first-time home buyers guide. Very simple to create. I've got a video on my YouTube channel showing you how to create a lead magnet for free that I used to have to pay $500 to $1,000 for, and you can do it now for free with AI. But that's important. Give value in exchange for information and give something that people actually want. And make sure that you follow up. But the most critical thing, as you can see here, is these are the first lines of his video. There's a reason for that. Because when you look at somebody's video, it actually only shows the first 3 lines before they have to click see more. And what happens with a lot of people that aren't generating leads from their content is that they put all of the call to actions and they bury it in the description. And they put all of the verbiage at the top. But you want people to immediately see these call to actions, even just when they're watching the video before having to click see more. So having the CTAs or the call to actions in the first 3 lines makes an astronomical difference. Barry does that incredibly well. So how do we systematically improve and scale, which is going to be the next step here before getting into one of the things that's going to make a biggest difference, again, which I talked about in the beginning, that even if you follow all these steps, if you don't follow the last point, it's going to make it very difficult to succeed. After 90 days, review your analytics, which is going to be your click-through rate, watch time, and leads generated. Double down on the high-performing videos by making spin-offs. So if we look at Barry's content, he's got a couple categories, and this is his most popular videos. Again, you can see from 1 year ago, that's kind of when he started being really consistent, but he's got a couple buckets here, 3 buckets to be exact. You have property tours, you have market updates, and you have relocation. Those are the 3 buckets that not only does he focus on, he focuses on them because the data, the analytics proved that these videos get the most engagement and the most interaction, and thus ends up getting a lot of people to connect with him. So looking at the data, what gets measured gets managed. People wonder why they're consistent, but they're not getting good results. Consistency has a massive caveat. You could be consistent with the wrong things and be consistent for years and not get any results. You have to be consistent with the right things. Now, finally, looking at this is looking at creating a routine. So when we look at anybody that succeeds on YouTube, they have to make it a priority. You will always make time for your priorities. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. If you're not consistent, it's because you haven't made it a priority. Point blank, plain and simple, 0 excuses. It has to be a priority. If you want full-time outcome from any activity, you have to make it a priority. You have to set realistic expectations because unrealistic expectations guarantee failure. Where every agent I've seen goes wrong is they say, if I don't get a lead within the first 3 months, then I'm done. Well, if you just extend the time horizon for which you're expecting tangible results, you pretty much will always succeed. So if you look at Barry, for example, what he said is, hey, this has worked for other people. If it could work for them, it could work for me. I'm going to do it until it works out. Not if it works out. Until. Because if one man or woman can, so can another. Find out what works for you and commit to it. So for Barry, it's a teleprompter and it's those 3 buckets. And that works for him. I've helped the other agents over 7,000 agents, and some of them do property tours, some of them do relocation, first-time home buyers, land and ranch, luxury. You have to find what works for you. And let's talk about this rule of 100 times 2. So the rule of 100, right? There's two different ones. Version 1, 100. Version 2, 100. Version 1 is that if you do 100 hours into any activity, you'll be better than 95% of anybody else at that activity. That is 15 minutes a day for a year. So when you're starting out and your videos are terrible, like everybody's, and you're beating yourself up for it, you just haven't put in the repetitions, which is going to get to the second part here. But this is such an important thing, because if you spend the first year 15 minutes a day or however much a week, you're going to be better than 95% of people. You do that for a second year, which is Barry's on his second year, you're going to get better than 95% of the 5% people. And this is how you guarantee that you win. The next rule of 100 is that you should not judge yourself until you've done 100 reps at anything. You'll see Mr. Beast talk about this, any of the big YouTubers, is that for the first 100 repetitions of doing anything, you shouldn't judge yourself. After that, you can. But you should just spend that time getting better every single video in order to make sure that you improve. So let's wrap it up with what Barry actually did in order to make sure that he accelerated this process, which is following a proven process. This is what 100% of the people I've ever seen succeed in not just real estate, but any business do, which is they value time more than money. Because you can get more money, you can't get back more time. And so the only way to buy time back is to learn from other people's mistakes and go directly to work. And that's why anyone who's successful understands that the greatest investment you can make is into yourself, because the cost of inaction is a price you do not want to pay. So many agents are exactly where they were this year, or worse than where they were last year. When is it going to end? And it's going to end when you start valuing your time and stop trying to waste the next 3, 5, 10 months watching endless YouTube videos in order to piece all these different pieces together to figure out what works, and just go straight to what works today so that you can start making a difference, right? Enough is enough. If you're sick and tired of being where you are, one of the biggest quotes that I learned from one of my mentors who I've met many times, Ed Milet, is that what you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. And if you don't hate where you are today and being complacent and not taking action and saying, this is going to be the year I'm going to start, but you don't start, this is going to be the week I take action, but you don't launch your channel, it's never going to end. And you deserve better. And that's why, again, every successful person I've ever seen follows a proven process, goes straight to what works, avoids years of failure that other people have made, and you can just go straight to what works. And that's why, again, Barry ended up going through the Social Agent Academy, which is here. You can see all the different categories here. We've got the YouTube Accelerator. There is 45 lessons, 4 hours and 44 minutes, step by step, exactly, click by click, screen recorded tutorials of exactly what to do so you cannot mess it up if you want to get started today on the right path to scaling and launching your YouTube channel. And this is going to be linked in the description as well. So no need to comment for that. You can comment if you want the free course to get you started. But if you're really serious and really all in, this program again shows you how to build your personal brand, optimize every profile, convert organic leads, YouTube strategy, build camera confidence, short form for TikTok, Reels and Shorts, paid lead conversion, every Facebook, YouTube, and Google ad you could run, optimizing your Google profile, social media systems, and everything else you could need to succeed. And so if you want to just get straight in because you're all in and you're sick and tired of seeing other people get results and that you could easily be getting yourself, then you can click the link in the description. Otherwise, again, this is exactly how to scale a YouTube channel with a very small audience to a very incredible commission amount within the next 12 months. And my hope is that you finally take action and you go all in, and you could be the next case study and success story that I share on my YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, drop a comment below. Otherwise, if you want to see an interview with Barry talking about everything that we just went through, but from his personal perspective and what he's doing to, prepare his content, how he's recording it, how he's editing it, and doing his thumbnails and everything else, then just click the next video, which I'll link over here, and we'll see you in the next one.